Okay, bonjour. Today we are talking about our continuation of objet indirect. Okay, so again, our indirect objects. Now, as we already know me, te, nous, and vous. Now remember, me, te, nous, and vous are the only four that can be both direct and indirect. So today, in this case, we are talking about them when it comes to them being indirect objects. Okay? Now, our new ones, we have lui and we have leur. Now, lui, I know that we've seen it before of just meaning him, but in this case, it can be to him or to her. So it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, boy, girl, male, female, it's all going to be lui if it is singular. Okay? Singular, lui. Now, if it is plural, it is going to be leur. So in fact, this is more easy than what we've had in the past. We've got lui and leur. One is plural, leur, and one is the singular, lui. Okay. Now, most of the time when we are talking about this, you are going to be able to recognize it because it is always going to be a plus a person. Okay, it is going to be a plus a person. So when we look at these sentences here coming, you are always going to recognize that it is going to be a with the accent. If it has somebody's name and it is not, it doesn't have an a, then that means it's probably going to be direct, which takes us back to last week's lesson when we were doing le, la, and le. But if it is an a plus a person, it is going to be lui or leur. Now again, if we're looking at these, it is going to be me, te, nous, and vous, lui and leur. Guys, all six of these are always, always, always going to be people. Okay, if it is a thing, then that is going to be something different that we will get to later down the road. But today we are just talking about the objet indirect. And like I said, all six of these are going to be for people only. You are going to see that a plus a person. Okay, now, as I said here, the same rules apply. So the same rules apply. It is going to be, it goes before the conjugated verb. Unless there's an infinitive, then it goes before the infinitive. Okay, nothing you haven't heard before. So let's take a look at some of these examples. And I am going to be writing on these because I'm trying to get you in the habit of underlining and writing and replacing. So then when it comes to be more complicated, we're able to kind of keep them all straight. Okay, so au présent. Now we have our first example. Je parle à mon prof d'anglais. As you can see, we've got that a plus a person. Okay, so that a plus a person. How many people are we talking about? That is just going to be one English teacher. So then when we go to replace it, I'm going to write above it. It's going to be lui. Okay, now once we figure out what we're replacing, you need to know that we are not rewriting that. So when we are left, we are really only left with those two words. Okay, je parle. So as you guys know the rule, it goes before the conjugated verb unless there's an infinitive. So that means I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow right here of that's where it goes in the sentence. So when I go to rewrite it, then it's going to be je lui parle. Okay, next example. Now, nous rendons visite à nos grands-parents. So again, we see that a plus people. Now, how many grandparents are we talking about? Obviously, we are talking about more than one. So when I go to replace this, it is going to be leur. Okay, now let's look at what we have left because once again, once I underline it, I am not rewriting it. I'm replacing it. I'm replacing the whole thing. That's what a pronoun does. Okay, so now we are left with nous rendons visite. Now, look at that ONS, all right? That ONS is going to tell us that that is that verb. So it goes before the conjugated verb unless there's an infinitive. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my little arrow there. So again, when I go to replace it, I'm going to rewrite it, and it's going to be nous leur rendons visite. Okay, I think I've got one more. Yep, no, I think we're going to do negative. Now, as we've talked before, we are talking about negatives, and it goes ne pas. Remember, ne pas goes around the verb, but remember, our lui and leur are going to follow the same rules that all the other stuff is followed. So that is going to go, it goes inside the sandwich, okay? So once again, that is where my ne pas is going to go. So when we go to make it negative, it is going to be je ne lui parle pas. And this would be translated as I don't talk to him. Okay, that lui is the to him. And why I say to him is because we're assuming it's mon prof. So that is a male teacher. Okay. So now, nous rendons visite à nos grands-parents has now changed to nous leur rendons visite. Again, there's my verb, so the ne pas is going to go around there. So it's going to be nous ne leur rendons pas visite. We don't pay a visit to them. Again, leur is the plural. So guys, it's really easy. Lui is the singular, leur is the plural. Okay, let's do a few more. Now that was present tense. Let's go on to passé composé. Okay, so our first example, j'ai donné un jouet au bébé. Okay, now if you're looking at it first, you're like, oh gosh, I don't have an a plus a person. But you have to remember that that o is a plus le. Okay, so j'ai donné un jouet au bébé. So now there's my person. I'm only talking about one baby, so that means it is going to be lui. Okay, now let's look at the rest of the sentence, because once again, now that we are replacing it, we are not rewriting it, so now we are just left with j'ai donné un jouet. Now, un jouet is actually a direct object. There will be a point down the road where we do both of these at the same time, but that is not today. Okay, so now I am left with it. Let's see, where does that rule go? It goes before the conjugated verb. Now remember, this whole entire thing is my verb, but I say conjugated verb because I'm talking about that helping verb. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow right there, and I'm actually going to break that up. Okay, so when I go to put lui in the sentence, it's going to be je lui ai donné un jouet. I gave a toy to him. Or another way we could say it in English is I gave him a toy. Okay, one more. Now, ils ont téléphoné à Luc et à Léa. Okay, so once again, we've got a plus the people. How many people are we calling? We're calling Luke and Leah, so that means there's two. So we are going to replace it with leur. Now, once again, we are not rewriting it. So then we are left with ils ont téléphoné. Well, we've got subject, we've got helping verb, and we've got our past participle. Okay, so that means it's going to go before our helping verb. And so when I go to rewrite it, it's going to be ils leur ont téléphoné. They called them, or they telephoned to them. Okay. Now again, before we go on, let's make these negative. Now remember, in passé composé, the ne pas goes around the helping verb only. Leave that donné out where it is. So when we go to make this negative, it is going to be around that part because the lui and the leur go inside the sandwich. So it is going to be je ne lui ai pas donné un jouet. I didn't give him a toy, or I didn't give the toy to him. Okay, last one. Now, once again, that is our helping verb. So we go to put it around there. The leur goes inside the sandwich. So when we go to make it negative, it is going to be ils ne leur ont pas téléphoné. They didn't call to them, or they didn't call them. Okay? All right, you with me so far? Now, we've got one more thing to do, and that is going to be with an infinitive. And I've said this a million times already. It goes before the conjugated verb unless there's an infinitive. Then it goes before the infinitive. Okay, so here we're working with infinitives. These lui and leur is going to go before the infinitive. Okay, now, il va présenter sa nouvelle copine à ses parents. Now, we have two people we're talking about here. We're talking about the nouvelle copine, and we're talking about the à ses parents. Now, in this case, the nouvelle copine is actually the direct object. That's who is being introduced, okay? But we're not worried about direct objects right now. We are only worried about this a plus people, okay? So, à ses parents. So, à ses parents, how many parents is he introducing her to? That is going to be replaced with leur, okay? Now, once again, once we underline and replace, we do not rewrite. So now we're left with the rest of the sentence. Now, again, the rule goes, it goes before the infinitive. So it's going to go right here. We're going to rewrite the rest of the sentence, not this part. Okay, rewrite the rest of this sentence. So when we go to rewrite it, il va leur présenter sa nouvelle copine. He is going to introduce his new girlfriend to them. Okay, one more. Vous allez parler à votre mère demain matin. You are going to talk to your mother tomorrow morning. So what we are worried about right now is this a plus a person. There is only one person, so that means it is going to be replaced with lui. Again, don't rewrite it, so we're left with the rest. This is going to be our infinitive, so that means it is going to go right here. So when we go to rewrite it, it's going to be Vous allez lui parler demain matin. You are going to talk to her tomorrow morning. Okay. And again, last thing, let's just do these negative. Now, when we do them negative, ne pas goes around this verb. It doesn't even touch the leur and the présenté, so nothing to worry about. It is just going to be il ne va pas leur présenter sa nouvelle copine. Now, again, once again, it's going to go around that conjugated verb, not the lui parler. The lui is not going to be part of the sandwich this time. So again, vous n'allez pas lui parler demain matin. You are not going to speak to her tomorrow morning. Okay? All right, that's it. If you need to rewatch this multiple times to get this, go ahead and do it. But again, we have our whole list now of indirect objects. It is going to be me, te, nous, and vous, and then this lui and leur. Remember, these are only going to be referring to people, never things, never places, or anything like that. Okay, so when we see lui and leur, that's going to be a plus a person. And lui is singular and leur is plural. Okay, that's it. All right, let's go ahead and get into Schoology and practice some of this.